Okay, so we're live on X. So we're going to talk about MVX, which is the most important blood test you can get if for regarding chronic illness. And this lab is active since January 6th of 2025. And the people that put it together, we're talking about researchers at LabCorp, PhDs, MDs, people at Duke University. They ran a couple tests on that. And it's gives you 6 factors. And these 6 factors are broken down into 2 categories. And the 2 categories are inflammation and nutrition. And so 2 of them are inflammation, but there's way more to it. So when you look at the original studies and publications and videos about MVX by the MD, PhD types, they use it to measure chronic disease. So if you have chronic kidney disease, it'll tell you how long you're going to live down to the percent between 0 to 100%, because it gives you the score 1 to 100. And so like if your score is 55, the chance of you dying, and I'll show you graphs so I can like upload right on the screen these graphs. So if your score is 55, which mine was in January, then your chance of dying in the next 5 years is at 20%. 4 weeks later, my score was 31, so my chance of dying dropped all the way down to 3%. And there's a reason why, which I'll go over that in a moment too. But you can change your MVX score. You want to decrease your score. The lower the better. It's like golf. So you want that score to be low. And as people get sicker and sicker, their score goes up. And it comes down to these broad categories of nutrition subjects: detoxification, infection, inflammation, malnutrition. These are the 4 big broad categories that are seen in these 6 factors. Now, the 6 factors, when you look at the research, there are 2: malnutrition, inflammation. But let's say you have one of the 6 factors is GlycA. It's called GlycA. And it's associated with inflammation, such as you may have heard of homocysteine, C-reactive protein, that kind of stuff. So if GlycA is high, you don't know if it's inflammation or infection. So you have to run a test, then another test. And there's one I like called Array 12 by a company called Cyrex. And it measures 27 different infections: mold, bacteria, parasites, Lyme, virus. And if you have nothing showing up there, then you're running another test regarding inflammation. And the one that I like is called the hypercoagulation panel. And so both these tests will give you the path to take. So if you have high inflammation but no infections, you're going to do the things to reduce inflammation. And if you have vice versa, like low inflammation, high infections, you do the things to get rid of the infections. That's one category of the 6 factors. That's GlycA. Now, the other categories include malnutrition. So specifically, there's 3 branched chain amino acids. And on MVX, and I could show you, but on MVX, if they're too high, that means you're deficient in vitamin B1. And so what happens when you have high amino acids, these 3, leucine, isoleucine, and valine? When they're too high, then your liver will not defat. You end up with fatty liver. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, 49.8% of Americans have fatty liver. So let's just say half of Americans have fatty liver from a high carbohydrate, highly processed diet. When you have a fatty liver, now you have high blood pressure, insulin resistance, high blood glucose, type 2 diabetes. You have visceral fat. This is what we call metabolic syndrome. And so then you end up getting a statin drug. You get arthritis drugs. You get diabetes drugs when it's actually a B1 deficiency. And so B1 is the most important nutrient of all nutrients, in my opinion, because, I've been in practice for a long time, and I had a gas leak at my house last year, and I took B1, and it's quite a story. I don't know if I want to get into it. I need to look at this camera. Sorry. So the B1 saved my life, and this terrible gas leak was causing crushing chest pain, high blood pressure, and I couldn't breathe, and I didn't know I had this gas leak for a year, and it was right outside my living room window, and the way the wind blows west to east, it would go down into the living room, down the hallway, into the bedrooms, and I was breathing like right now I'm in my house, and this is the last bedroom down the hallway. And I'd be speaking on the camera for an hour. And at the end, I was exhausted and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't understand it. Well, the gas leak was causing that. So I ended up going to the hospital May of 2024, May 18th, actually. Crushing chest pain, 8 out of 10. High blood pressure, couldn't breathe. And I spent 5 hours there and $10,000. And they couldn't find anything. Well, luckily, I'm in the nutrition field. And so on May 28th, I started taking B1. And there's several versions of B1. I started taking benfotiamine, which was invented in the 1960s in Japan by some chemists in order to get B1 into the fat, like through the fatty membranes. So B1 is water soluble, except for a couple versions made in Japan. And benfotiamine is great for the body, breathing, heart, neuropathy in the extremities. So within an hour of taking benfotiamine, I was breathing better. And in 2 weeks, I was 95% better. And I still had the gas leak, which I didn't know about. So all summer, all fall, I was doing fine. December 7th of 2024, just a few months ago, I found the gas leak. And it was right outside my living room window. So I fixed that. And now I'm off of B1. I don't need it anymore. I'm doing quite well. And I've done some hardcore detox. I did an 18-day sauna detox program. I was in the sauna for more than 4 hours a day for 18 days. And I could smell chemicals in my nose on day one. So anyways, getting back to the MVX, if you have high the 3 branched chain amino acids, if they're high, then you got to look for a B1 deficiency, or just start taking B1 in the fat soluble version. Now, let's say these 3 amino acids are too low. That's different. And it could be cachexia, meaning you're dying because you have cancer. Or it could be you're vegan, not eating enough protein. Or it could be you can't digest food very well. Your stomach doesn't work. Your gallbladder is congested. You can't digest fat, like fatty meat. You have SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So you got to fix whatever digestive issue is going on. And MVX tells us. So MVX is unbelievable how great it is. Let me continue what else is on MVX. So I mentioned GlycA for inflammation and infection. I mentioned the 3 amino acids. Now there's really 2 more left. And one is called small HDL particles. Now, when you look at cholesterol, people talk about LDL cholesterol being the most important cholesterol, the most important thing in all of medicine. Not true. And I will win this argument with any cardiologist that LDL is not the most important thing when it comes to heart disease and plaquing. The small HDL particles are the most important thing. And the reason why is because they soak up LDL. And the small HDL particle count, there's a number on MVX, and that count should be high. And there's a range from 11.7 to 21.6, I believe. So if your score is 10, it's too low. That's not a diet-related issue. That's actually toxicity. It's a toxin issue. And here's a super interesting story that I figured out. So I'm on the carnivore diet since 2018. I eat a ton of meat. I love meat. And I do eat some fruits and vegetables sometimes. And now I have a vegan patient who's 80 years old. And he had some AFib and some other heart-related issues. I keep trying to get him to eat steaks and burgers, and he won't do it. And so now my small HDL particle count was 11.9. It was in the normal range, but it was too low. His HDL particle count was like 10, and it was too low. And it should be 21. Both of ours were low. I'm on the carnivore diet. He's on the vegan diet. We both have a low count for the small HDL particle number. So I realized, okay, it's not related to diet. So that's true for a lot of heart conditions. I mean, it's more about toxicity. So when you eat the standard American diet and you're eating a lot of carbs and sugar, it's more of a toxicity issue. Sugar is a toxin. That's how I see That's how I see sugar now. So my small HDL particle number went up because I stopped the gas leak, and it went up from 11 point something to 17 in 4 weeks. Again, the goal is like above 19. In 4 weeks, it went up like that because I stopped breathing in the gas. And then so he told, and he hasn't redone his MVX score, but his went up. I'm sorry, he felt better. He had trouble breathing, and I put him on a supplement for detoxing heavy metals and chemicals. And that supplement is called HMET Binder from Cellcore Biosciences. And HM stands for heavy metals, ET stands for environmental toxins. He told me 3 weeks ago when I saw him in my office, he took one pill, he could immediately breathe better. So that was like such validation that, yeah, small HDL particles are a toxicity. I'll have him redo the MVX test. And and I'm studying this now. I'm the only doctor in the world trying to figure out how to use MVX to improve our health. And I have some really good answers. I feel like I'm 80% there, maybe 90% there. And I'm telling you, AI, ChatGPT, has no idea how to read MVX. Maybe someday it will. So another factor in MVX then is citrate. So this is the last one. This is the last factor. And then I'll show you some graphs. So when you look at the mitochondrial function where you make energy, ATP, the first ingredient is citrate. So if you have a lot of citrate in your blood, that means it's not getting into your cell membranes and through your cell membranes and through your mitochondria. And so therefore, more and more citrate is building up in your blood and it's not being used. So that's also a toxicity issue where your cell membranes and mitochondrial membranes are filled with toxins. Another potential factor is that your mitochondria are missing core nutrients. So the mitochondria, there's a Facebook group called Understanding Mitochondrial Nutrition, and in it they say that the mitochondria need 22 specific nutrients. And so what would they be? Iron, copper, some minerals, and some vitamins, certainly the B vitamins. B1, B3 is niacin, and then NAD, which everybody's trying to sell NAD, which is great. If you want to take NAD, go right ahead, but don't forget there's 21 other nutrients in the mitochondria. And there are companies that are coming out with vitamin pills that have all the nutrients, and I have a couple. And they're great. They're amazing. So that's why citrate might go high. So let me show you. Okay, this is a super cool map. I'm going to step here. Now you can see. Okay, now check it out. Bring the microphone. I'm going to hold on the microphone. Bear with me. Okay, here I got the microphone. So this graphic shows the old way of predicting how long you're going to live, your longevity. And you can see at the very top is age. At the very bottom, it has a graph or a score of 0 to 30. So when you do the math to figure out how old you're going to live, then what percentage does this factor of age contribute to that math? And the answer is somewhere between 25 and 30%. Okay, I don't have the specific numbers. And you can see for the next one is GFR, that's kidney disease. And hopefully you can see my cursor. So kidney disease is over 20% a factor, 25%. And, over 25%. So that's how you do the math, and you can look at previous heart failure, which is pretty serious. There's diabetes, smoking, hypertension, gender, women live longer than men. At the bottom, we got total cholesterol, triglycerides, HDL cholesterol. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And this is how people say, oh, you need to quit smoking. You need to lower your blood pressure. You'll live longer. I'm not saying these things are true or not true. I'm not saying they're not true. But let me now show you the next way, the new way to determine how long you're going to live. And that's this one. So at the very, very top, we have MVX. It's such a good test. It's so well studied, and it measures the 6 factors that determine better than anything else how long you're going to live. And it contributes to the math of your longevity by, I think it's 75% right there at the very top, that blue graphic right there. And then you can see the next one is gender. You just see that they're super insignificant. Hypertension, smoking, diabetes, previous heart failure, kidney disease is all the way down to like 1 or 2. These become sort of not factors. This test revolutionizes all of medicine. So I'm going to stop this one and I'm going to kind of, I had a plan. Whoops, not that. Here we go. I had a plan. I'm going to bypass my plan and I'm going to show you at the bottom of the scientific research paper that came out on MVX. This right here is what was said. Here we go. Okay, so they talked about MVX. They showed the math. And at the very bottom, this is the conclusion in the paper. Our results suggest that survival, meaning how long you're going to live, might be more dependent on previously unrecognized causal factors. Now, I just mentioned what they are: infections, toxins, nutrition. Those are the causal factors, not smoking, not gender, not did you have a heart attack. Those are the causal factors. Okay, and follow me because there's more to it. I got another graphic to show you. Okay, these unrecognized by medicine causal factors distinct from those responsible for development of the diseases or vulnerabilities considered to be the causes of death. So the doctors are thinking that kidney failure is the cause of death. A heart attack is the cause of death. Hypertension is the cause of death. No, there's other factors, and MVX is telling us what these other factors are. If supported by future research, okay, I'm going to stop right there. There's already tons of research to support this, what I'm going to say next. Treating the underlying metabolic dysfunctions, okay, of the overlapping syndromes of, okay, now these next words are how people die. Cachexia, when people have cancer and they're dying and they're losing weight, they can't put on calories, they eat a ton of calories, but they can't put on weight. That's cachexia. You can have cardiac cachexia, have a heart attack, and you're not, a year goes by, you're not thriving. My great grandfather had a heart attack, spent the next 5 years on the couch, couldn't breathe, died. That's cachexia. Sarcopenia is muscle wasting, malnutrition, frailty. Frailty has its own definition. These are how people die. Okay, so combine those with So treat those with anti-inflammatory, nutritional, or alternative therapies. And that might provide greater survival benefit than targeting conventional disease risk factors. Yes, disease risk factors are kind of a red herring and they distract us from the causes. All right, that's super interesting to me. I hope it's interesting to you. So let me show you, this graphic is the scary graphic. And I hope you can see my cursor. You should be able to. You know what? Let me get into the screen. All right. On the far left, it says cumulative mortality incidence. So over the next 5 years, here we got 0 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Okay, I got to move a screen out of my way. All right. And then on the left, what's your cumulative mortality incidence? 10%? Are you gonna, in the next 5 years, is your chance of dying 20%? Is it 30%? All the way up to 70% up here. And how do you figure this out? MVX gives you a score 1 to 100. If your score is 75 or greater, that's here. You just draw a line all the way straight across, all the way to the left. Your chance of dying in the next 5 years is 60%. The NIH ran this test on 24,000 people. That's how they know this. It's a lot of people. The National Institutes of Health. This is not alternative medicine, or this is not, I'm not degrading functional alternative medical testing, but this is the NIH, right? Very specific meaning, and specific is a very technical term. These results are very specific. They're very correct. Okay, my score, the first time I ran it, when I was toxic with the gas leak at my house, my score was 55. So here it is, go all the way to the left. My chance of dying was 20% in the next 5 years. My cumulative mortality incidence. In the next 1 year, it was, look at this blue line, in the next 1 year, it was like 3, 4, 5%, somewhere in there. But it kept going up. If I was to not discover the gas leak, it would have kept going up. So, and I felt terrible. Just horrible. Chest pain, lung pain, walking funny, weak legs, horrible. I shut the gas leak off. 4 weeks later, my score is 31, MVX test. So where's 31 at? Here it says less than 35. It's that green line. You got to cut all the way straight across, and my chance of dying, 3%. So I dropped my chance of dying 17% in 4 weeks by not breathing in gas. My third test I ran, I had a sinus infection, and my score went up to 39. So that's right here, 35 to 44. So just draw that all the way across. I'm at 5%. So it finds infections, it finds toxins. And I run this on my current patients. I've had 160 people run this, and I can tell what I'm missing. I could tell that I missed a whole bunch of toxins with my previous testing procedures. I could tell that I missed infections or inflammation or malnutrition or B1 or amino acids. Maybe they need some digestive support. It helps. Okay, I can go on. This is just a fantastic test. Now notice that of all these 24,000 people, the average age of death was around 61 or 62 years old. At the very bottom, they're at 58. At the very top, they're at 62. So these people were sick. They were primarily, maybe half of the 24,000 people had a heart disease, known heart disease. Another group within those 24,000 people were healthy. But my point is that there is people who are 59 years old right now. They're going to have a heart attack next year, and they don't know it. And MVX tells you. MVX gives you the best clue. So, and then at the very top here on the far right, it says vulnerable. At the very bottom, it says resilient. So if your score is 31, you're very healthy. Your health is resilient. If your score is 75, in the red, yellow, you're more vulnerable. That's why it's called the metabolic vulnerability index. So metabolic meaning metabolism, meaning how's your mitochondria? It's about your mitochondria, right? It's not like how fit are you? What's your VO2 max, your lung capacity? It's not that. It's not your grip strength. It's not, do you go to the gym? It's not that. It's not your telomere length. It's these 6 factors of MVX that determine how long you're going to live better than anything else. So there's a whole bunch of longevity experts, biohackers, and I don't know. I think of Harvard professors with long beards saying they're going to live to 150. That's what I think of. I hope they're right. Well, they should run MVX and see if they're right. Because if they're not, they could. And guess what? This test is so cheap. It's only $135. It's crazy cheap. And I have other functional tests that are great for finding parasites and toxins. They're $500, $600, $700. And they give us great information. But when you do MVX, it'll tell you that your next step is to do the heavy metals test, or the next step is to find parasites. It'll tell you where to go, and then you spend $500, $600. But first do MVX. That way you're not spending $3,000, $4,000 trying to search around. MVX tells you go here or go there. It's amazing. So having said that, I can show you where to get it. This is my website. And upper right, maybe I can flip sides here. Upper right, right up there, it says MVX test. You can click on that. The website's the nutritionalhealingcenter.com. You click on that right there, and it'll a page will pop up, fill in the information, and somebody from my office will contact you. I'm sorry, my camera's a little bit blurry. So there's that. So MVX, this is the great video that I found on YouTube in May of 2024. If you want to check it out, Dr. Bill Cromwell was part of the team to develop MVX, and I talked to him 2.5 weeks ago, and he really had no clue as to the power of this test. And I told him all the things I just told you. I told him I dropped my score 31 points in 4 weeks. These researchers who developed this test, they thought that you could run the test, and 2 years later, you would have the same score. And maybe it would change a little bit. No, it changes dramatically based on your actions. And I talked to another researcher who helped develop MVX. And she said that, and I don't have the study, but I wish I did. She had, they had a study at Duke where they had a bunch of older gentlemen run on treadmills. And they did before and after with MVX. So their glucose went down, their insulin resistance went down, which is great, but their MVX didn't go down. Their MVX did not improve. And I'm not surprised by that at all. And I'll tell you why in a second. And then they did another study, and instead of exercising, they put them on statin drugs to lower their cholesterol. And guess what? MVX did not go down. It didn't improve. And here's why. So I'm going to grab, do I even have it? 7 steps, my 7 steps. Here it is. This is my 7-step blueprint to optimal health. Let me grab the microphone. Okay, follow me on this. And this is my career. I created this 7-step blueprint to optimal health because in my career, I have cash practice, nutrition-based. I've been studying nutrition since 1993, self-study. Started chiropractic school in 94, graduated in 97, started nutrition practice in 98. I quit all insurance in 2005. I quit chiropractic. I quit getting chiropractic patients around 2012 or 2011. My practice is hardcore nutrition, cash only. I have to get people better. If they don't get better, I lose my practice. Why would anybody pay to see me when they already have insurance? They can go get drugs. There's nutritionists that take insurance. You know, I don't take insurance. I quit insurance November 1st of 2005 for the sole reason to force me to be a better and better doctor. That's why I did it. And I like to study, so there's an advantage I have. So this 7 steps is kind of a takeoff of a philosophy that really rang true when I heard about it, because a lot of different doctors have their own philosophies. And it could be Western, it could be Eastern, it could be based on alkalinity, it could be based on, the vegan philosophy. Here's the truth. This is what really works. And I made this graphic in 2018, and I've learned from it. And the person that actually made the original was Todd Watts. His name is Dr. Todd Watts from Cellcore Biosciences, which is a supplement company. Anyways, I expanded on it, so I've changed it. But step 1 is diet. And step 2 is increasing mitochondrial energy. That's vitamin B1 and the 21 other nutrients within mitochondria. Step 3 is drainage. That means that you make sure that your liver, intestines, kidneys, lymphatic system, they're all working well. These are organs and systems that detox on their own. So if you're not pooping, for example, you need drainage. You need some colon cleansing supplement. You need some gallbladder flushing, something like that. Okay, step 4 is cleaning the intestines. Now, we got supplements that make people eliminate parasites, ropeworms, stuff like that. So step 5 then is full body immune cleansing. So now you're getting parasites out of people's bodies from head to toe. It cleans parasites and organisms out of their fingers, their joints, their knuckles start to hurt. They blow parasites out of their nose. I actually blew 3 parasites out of my nose. And only supplements will do this. There's no drug that is that great. There's a particular product called Para-3 from Cellcore. It's fantastic. But you can't just do it in step 5 unless you make sure you do steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 first. You have to do this in order. All right. Step 6 is detoxing heavy metals and chemicals. Step 7 is Lyme disease. And maybe that's a bad term. What it really means is organisms that are living inside your cells. And that includes viruses. It includes parasites, fungus, mold, bacteria. And when I say Lyme, I was at a seminar once, and this woman stood up, and she said there's about 60 co-infections of Lyme. So what happened was in 1980, they found Lyme, Borrelia burgdorferi. They found it in the cells. And it's such a big deal because, Lyme was hard to find because it's in the cells. And then soon after that, they found other organisms, Babesia, which is a parasite, Ehrlichia, Mycoplasma, Bartonella. These organisms are in the cells, and they kept celebrating, hey, this is great. But guess what? They found other bacteria. They found mold, mycotoxins. So there's herbs that clean out the cells in step 7. Herbs do it, not drugs. There's no good drugs in this situation unless you have an acute Lyme situation where you need antibiotics, but you got to follow up with herbs. The step O is optimization. That's adding in minerals. And step O can be done anywhere in the 7 steps. So anyway, so the point is the 6 factors of MVX line up with my 7 steps. My 7 steps that it took me 30 years to come up with fixes MVX. They line up one for one. It's amazing. So let me get rid of this. And what did I want to show you? Longevity. Oh, here we go. So here on the far left, we have my 7-step blueprint to optimal health that I just went over. And then the MVX 6 factors and where they line up with my 7 steps. And then we have the labs beyond MVX that you can test to see, you know, what kind of organisms you have, what kind of toxins you have. And then here's the therapies. And starting with the low-carb diet, small HDL particle numbers are toxicity. And the low-carb diet, ketosis is the basis of detoxing. And there's the branched chain amino acids that I mentioned, and getting rid of the parasites. And here's the herbs for Lyme. Here's the symptoms people go through as they go through the 7 steps and the 6 factors. And all the way on the right, we have courses and ebooks that I've made in the last 9 years. So this lab test totally validates my career. It's so great. And all the times I've been called a voodoo doctor, witch doctor, quack. You're just a chiropractor. Since 2013, I've been on YouTube, social media. I've heard it all. And I just, those are ad hominem attacks, right? When somebody, attacks your license or your being or your skin color, that's an ad hominem attack. And you know that the person lost their argument. So, anyways, so there's that. But yeah, so totally valid. Okay, and there's a whole bunch of holistic doctors that I know personally, whether they're chiropractors, medical doctors, or DOs, they do some version of the 7 steps. For example, there's an internist in Kansas City. God, I hope I'm right on that. His name is Dr. Simon Yu. Last name is YU. Dr. Simon Yu, preventionandhealing.com. He focuses on cancer. Now, he's not an oncologist. He's an internal specialist. And he has a hyper focus on parasites. He also detoxes heavy metals and chemicals. He also talks about teeth. You can have infections in the teeth causing problems. So he does the 7 steps that I talk about. And that's what happens when you have a good holistic doctor and they're following the truth. It leads down to that path. There's another one. Dr. Ellie, I'm forgetting her last name. Former president of the American Association of Oral and Systemic Health. What that means is this group of doctors, AAOSH, they look at dental problems like infections in the jaw, causing arthritis, causing cancer, causing plaquing in the arteries. These infections here are a major source of disease in the body. This has been known for over 100 years. And there's actually 2 associations of doctors that look into this and study it. It's fantastic. So the point is, Dr. Ellie, she does some version of the 7 steps. So, okay. I got one more slide that I want to show you. I got more, but I kind of want to focus on this one. This is about ApoB. Okay, I'm going to shrink it down so it's not too big. So we're going to do it this way. Good. All right. Grab the microphone. Okay, ApoB. So when you talk to a cardiologist, they say LDL is a problem, but the truth is, and they'll admit this, ApoB is a chemical on the LDL particle, and ApoB is what causes plaquing. And so this upper left corner is a graphic. It's a U shape. This is the problem with ApoB and hypertension and being overweight. There's a lot of factors that are U-shaped when it comes to longevity. So on the far left, it says HR. That means hazard ratio. And if it's up, that means you're going to die sooner. Okay, so, and on the bottom it says the quantity of ApoB. So if you have a high amount of ApoB, you can see how it goes up. If you have a low amount of ApoB, it also goes up. So is ApoB good or bad? See, that's the problem. Now there's some people who, let's say they have cancer, they want to be overweight because they'll live longer. They'll want to have high blood pressure or high LDL because they will live longer. This U-shaped curve is a problem in medicine. And it's like, what are they missing? Do they know what they're missing? Well, at the bottom is the solution, and it's MVX, and specifically the malnutrition part of MVX. So when you do the math of this graph and you throw in the malnutrition aspect, now it's no longer a U-shaped curve. And now ApoB is a problem. The higher it goes, the more of a problem it is, period. Whereas over here, you don't know, do you want it high or low? Well, if you have the malnutrition aspect corrected, meaning you have enough vitamin B1, you're digesting your amino acids, you don't have cachexia, now you know ApoB is just trouble, trouble, trouble as it goes up, up, up. All right, so that's for the cardiologists. That's for all the medical doctors who go on and on about LDL and without knowing this new information. This is new information. So the study that I'm referring to and that actual graphic is from, I believe, January, maybe February of 2023. So it's only 2 years old as I record this. Anyways, all right, cool. So it's 8 o'clock. And so I've been speaking for a half hour. That's all I wanted to do. If you wanted more information, I'm going to talk about MVX from here on out on X. And I've been using X as a platform to attack my Michigan governor and other political leaders in Michigan that I despise. Well, I'm going to quit doing that because I want to change my messaging. And I'll go after the politicians in other ways besides X. So you can follow me. And then go on my website. I have all the courses. You can sign up to be a new patient. You can sign up I have a big course called the 7-Step Blueprint to Optimal Health. And if you just want to jump in and get the MVX test, I could, I don't know if I could even show you. Can I show you? This is my first, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. I think I'm showing you right now. Yeah. And then, so I'm kind of new at this, so I have to, no, I don't want that. Share screen. Oh, here we go. Oh, there I am. Okay, this is me. I have time, like it's Sunday night, right? So it's 8:01. I'll keep going because I forgot I wanted to show you this. This is my actual first score right here, 55, right there, 55 on my score, 1 to 100. That's what gave me a 20% chance of dying in the next 5 years. I quit breathing in the gas. I stopped the gas leak. And in 4 weeks, 31. So this first score was January 13th right here. And the second one is February 10th. I dropped it 24 points. Yeah, 24 points in 4 weeks. This is what blew away the MVX researcher that I talked to on the phone. She's like, oh my God, you dropped it 24 points in 4 weeks? I'm like, yeah. She goes, I need to learn from you. And I was like, yes, you do need to learn from me. And then this is GlycA. When GlycA is high, it's horrid. That's infection and inflammation. So notice my infection and inflammation was 335, and it dropped to 316 in 4 weeks. I felt so much better. It was fantastic. And then the small HDL particle number, that's the next one. And it was too low at 11.7. And you can see that the range is 11.5 to 21.6. See that? You want it to be 20. Okay, so I went from 11.7 all the way up to 17 in 4 weeks because I wasn't breathing in the gas leak. Okay, and I'll show you my third test. I had a sinus infection, and all these things got worse. Okay, and then my citrate and valine, leucine, isoleucine, the malnutrition aspects, they kind of went up and down. Not much of a big change, but with the valine, leucine, isoleucine, you want them to be higher in the normal range. So those improve. Like the valine went from 170 to 275. 275 is better because it's in the higher part of the normal range right there. Okay. Now my next one, let me see if I can do this. Oh my gosh. Did it work? Yeah, I'm so impressed with myself right now by doing this live stream like that. Okay, I was at 31, and now in March, and as a matter of fact, my 4th blood draw is tomorrow morning. Okay, so 4 weeks ago, my score went up from 31 to 39. And you can see my GlycA, it went screaming high, 316 up to 350. Why? Because of the sinus infection. Whoops, there we go. And then my citrate and my branched chain amino acids, they kind of bounced around, but they kind of went down. The branched chain amino acids, they dropped. I mentioned you want them to be higher in that normal range, and they went down. So that means my body was using up the B vitamins trying to tackle the sinus infection. Okay, so my sinuses are cleared out, and my chest pain is better. I've been jumping up and down on the trampoline to make sure my lymphatic system's good. I've been taking on my supplements, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. And at some point, I'll do some videos about my continued journey with MVX. So I'm gonna stop the share with the. No, I don't want to do. Oh my gosh, I just messed up. How do I do that? Oh, here we go. Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. All right. So now it's 8:05. It only took 5 minutes to go over that. All right, cool. Well, it's been a lot of fun. I'm gonna keep doing live streams tonight. I meant to go on 5 different platforms, but X was the only one that let me go on. So you got me on this one, and so I encourage you to get MVX, and you can get it right on my website. You don't have to go through any doctor. And as far as I know, there's 2 other doctors in the country running MVX. But you have to be a patient of theirs. For me, you don't have to be a patient of mine. Just go to my website, thenhcaa.com. And if you want a consultation, it's going to cost you some money. If you want to be a patient, it's going to cost you more money. Yeah, that's how it goes. You know what? All right, so I'm going to end this live. I don't know how to end it. Okay, I do know how to. Okay, thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. I hope you had fun too. Leave some comments. I can't read your comments as I'm doing this live, but I'm going to go on X and I'll read your comments. I want to see what kind of feedback you have. I want to see what kind of questions that you have so that later on I can answer those questions as I give the live. Okay, thanks. Bye.